Dr. David Rivera had always believed that somewhere among the stars, other intelligent beings were trying to communicate with Earth. For 15 years, he worked at the Deep Space Communications Center in the quiet desert of Arizona, listening to the endless whispers of the universe. Most days brought nothing but cosmic static and the occasional pulsar signal. But David never gave up hope. His small office was filled with computer screens showing wave patterns, mathematical equations scattered across whiteboards, and empty coffee cups that told the story of countless sleepless nights. His colleagues often joked that he was chasing ghosts in the cosmic wind. But David knew that persistence was the key to discovery. On a Tuesday morning in March, something extraordinary happened. While reviewing the previous night's data recordings, David noticed something unusual hidden within what appeared to be ordinary background radiation from deep space. The pattern was too organized, too precise to be natural. It looked like mathematics, but unlike anything humans had ever created. David spent 3 weeks analyzing the mysterious signal. He ran it through every computer program, compared it to known mathematical sequences, and even consulted with professors from universities around the world. Slowly, piece by piece, the pattern began to make sense. It was a communication protocol, a way of sending messages across the vast distances of space. His heart racing with excitement. David realized he was looking at the first confirmed message from an alien civilization, but the signal seemed to be waiting for a response, like someone knocking on a door and expecting an answer, working around the clock. David crafted humanity's first official reply to an extraterrestrial message. He used Earth's most powerful transmission array to send a mathematical greeting into the depths of space, hoping that whoever had sent the original signal would understand that Earth was ready to talk. What David didn't know was that his response had reached not one, but 2 different alien civilizations who had been watching Earth for years. Both societies had been waiting for humans to develop enough to join the galactic community, but they had very different ideas about what that membership should look like. 3 days after David sent his message, his life changed forever. He was working late in his laboratory when the air around him began to shimmer like heat waves. Rising from hot pavement, the temperature dropped suddenly, and a strange humming sound filled the room. Then, in a flash of brilliant blue light, she appeared. The being standing before David was unlike anything he had ever imagined. She was tall and graceful, with skin that seemed to glow with a soft crystalline light. Her eyes were the color of deep ocean water, and when she moved, it was as if she were floating rather than walking. Despite her alien appearance, there was something undeniably beautiful and intelligent about her presence. "Greetings, Dr. Rivera," she said, her voice carrying a musical quality that seemed to resonate directly in his mind. "I am Princess Zera of the Crystalline Empire. Your transmission has reached our realm, and according to the ancient laws of our people, you have declared yourself as Earth's representative in galactic affairs." David's mouth fell open. He had dreamed of this moment for years, but now that it was happening, he felt completely unprepared. "You received our message, indeed," Zera replied, stepping closer. "Your mathematical greeting was quite elegant. Though primitive by our standards, my people have been observing your species for centuries, waiting for you to develop the capability for interstellar communication. That moment has now arrived." She explained that the Crystalline Empire was one of the most advanced civilizations in the galaxy, a society built on perfect order, logic, and technological advancement. Every citizen had their optimal role. Every city was designed for maximum efficiency, and every decision was made based on careful calculation and reason. "Your world stands at a crossroads," Zera continued. "There are forces in the galaxy that threaten not just our civilizations, but the very fabric of reality itself. Earth's unique position and your species' potential make you valuable allies. I claim the right to guide humanity into the galactic community under the protection of our empire." Before David could fully process what she was saying, another strange phenomenon occurred. The lights in his laboratory began to flicker, and the walls seemed to become transparent, as if reality itself was becoming unstable. Through this dimensional distortion stepped another figure, Equally alien, but completely different from Zara. This newcomer had an ethereal quality, as if she existed partially in David's world and partially somewhere else entirely. Her form seemed to shift slightly, like looking at something through moving water. Her hair moved as if touched by an invisible breeze, and her eyes held the depth of infinite space. "Not so fast, Crystal Princess," the newcomer said with a playful smile. "I am Princess Lyra of the Nebular Confederation, and I believe there's been a misunderstanding. The good doctor's transmission reached our dimensional realm first, making him our rightful contact according to the laws of space and time." Zara's crystalline skin brightened with what David assumed was anger. "Impossible. Our sensors detected the transmission exactly 72 hours ago." "Ah, but you're thinking in linear time," Lyra replied, her form shimmering as she spoke. "My people exist across multiple dimensions simultaneously. We received his message before he even sent it, making our claim absolutely valid." David found himself caught between two incredibly advanced beings who were arguing over him, like he was a prize to be won. Wait, he said, raising his hands. "Can someone please explain what's actually happening here? What kind of threat are you talking about, and why is Earth so important?" Both princesses turned to look at him, and for a moment, David felt the weight of their attention like a physical force. He realized that these weren't just alien visitors. They were royalty from civilizations so advanced that humanity was like children, playing with toys in comparison. Zara spoke first, her voice taking on a more serious tone. "Dr. Rivera, the galaxy faces a crisis unlike anything we have encountered before. There is something we call the Void Plague, a force that consumes entire star systems, turning them into regions where nothing can exist. Neither matter nor energy, neither life nor death, just absolute emptiness." Lyra nodded gravely. "Both of our civilizations are in its path. We estimate that within 50 of your Earth years, the plague will reach our core worlds. We need allies, resources, and most importantly, fresh perspectives on how to combat this threat." "But why Earth?" David asked. "We barely have space travel. We can't even agree on how to solve our own problems, let alone help advanced civilizations like yours." "That's exactly why you're valuable," Lyra explained. "Your species thinks differently than ours. You've evolved in isolation, developing unique approaches to problem solving. Sometimes the most advanced civilizations become trapped by their own sophistication," Zara added. "Your mathematical transmission wasn't just a greeting, Dr. Rivera. The way you structured the message, the concepts you chose to represent, it showed a type of thinking that neither of our civilizations possess anymore. That cognitive diversity might be the key to finding a solution." David felt the enormous weight of responsibility settling on his shoulders. Not only had he made first contact with alien life, but apparently the fate of multiple civilizations might depend on the choices he made next. "So what happens now?" he asked. Both princesses smiled, though their expressions carried very different meanings. Zara's smile was confident and determined, while Lyra's was mysterious and playful. "Now," Zara said, "you must choose which civilization will have the honor of guiding humanity into the galactic community. Choose wisely," Lyra added with a wink, "because the future of the galaxy might just depend on it." As David looked between these two incredible beings, he realized that his quiet life of listening to cosmic static was over. Whatever happened next would change not just his world, but potentially the entire universe. The question was, how could one human possibly make such an important decision? Outside his laboratory windows, the desert stars twinkled peacefully, unaware that the fate of countless worlds now rested in the hands of a dedicated scientist who had simply wanted to prove that humanity wasn't alone in the universe. Little did David know that this was only the beginning of an adventure that would challenge everything he thought he knew about love, loyalty, and the true nature of the cosmos itself. The next morning, David woke up wondering if the previous night had been the most vivid dream of his life. But when he arrived at his laboratory, he found undeniable proof that everything had been real. Where his desk once stood, there was now a perfect crystalline structure that pulsed with soft blue light. Princess Zara materialized from within it, looking as elegant as ever. "Good morning, Dr. Rivera, she said with a polite nod. I hope you slept well. I took the liberty of upgrading your workspace while you rested. David stared in amazement at his transformed laboratory. The crystal formation wasn't just beautiful. It was clearly some kind of advanced technology. Holographic displays showed star maps, mathematical equations floated in the air, and he could feel a gentle energy that made his mind feel sharper and more focused. This is incredible, David whispered, reaching out to touch one of the crystal surfaces. How does it work? Matter manipulation is elementary for my people, Zara explained proudly. We can reshape any material at the molecular level. This is just a small example of what the crystalline empire could offer Earth. Before David could ask more questions, the air near the window began to ripple like water. Princess Lyra stepped through what appeared to be a tear in reality itself, bringing with her the scent of cosmic winds and starlight. Oh, how predictable, Lyra said with an amused laugh. Crystal formations and organized displays. Let me show you something with a bit more imagination, David. She gestured toward the empty corner of the room, and suddenly the space began to expand impossibly. The corner stretched and folded until it opened into what looked like a vast cosmic garden. Floating in space, strange but beautiful plants swayed in zero gravity, while streams of pure energy flowed like rivers between floating islands of crystallized starlight. Welcome to a piece of my realm, Lyra said, her eyes sparkling with mischief. This is where the Nebular Confederation makes its home, riding the currents between dimensions. Every day brings new wonders, new possibilities. David felt his head spinning as he tried to process what he was seeing. Both princesses were demonstrating technologies so advanced they seemed like magic. But more than that, they were clearly trying to impress him, competing for his attention like two people trying to win his favor. This is all amazing, David said carefully, but I still don't understand what you expect from me. I'm just one person. How can I possibly represent all of humanity? Zara's expression became serious. Because you were the first to successfully communicate with us in galactic law. That makes you Earth's official representative until your species chooses otherwise. But more importantly, Lyra added, stepping closer. You have something both our civilizations have lost over the millennia. You think with fresh eyes, unbound by ancient traditions or rigid structures. Over the following days, both princesses took turns showing David glimpses of their respective civilizations. Zara created detailed holographic tours of her empire's greatest achievements. He saw massive cities where every building was perfectly designed for its purpose, where citizens lived in harmony because everyone knew exactly what role they were meant to play. There is no poverty, no confusion, no waste, Zara explained as they walked through the virtual streets of her capital world. Every person receives the education and resources they need to excel in their optimal profession. Crime is virtually unknown because everyone's needs are met. The technology was breathtaking. David saw healing chambers that could cure any disease, transportation systems that move people instantly across planets, and educational systems that could download entire libraries of knowledge directly into a person's mind. Your species struggles with so many problems that we solved centuries ago, Zara continued. War, hunger, environmental destruction. All of these could be eliminated within a single generation if you accept our guidance. But when Lyra showed him her world, David experienced something completely different. Instead of structured cities, the Nebular Confederation lived in great fleets of ships that sailed through dimensions, like ancient explorers crossing unknown oceans. We don't build permanent cities, Lyra explained as they floated through one of her people's vessels. Why limit ourselves to one place when the universe offers infinite possibilities? Today we might visit a dimension where music has physical form. Tomorrow we could explore realms where thoughts become living creatures. David watched in wonder as Lyra's people created art by painting with pure energy, composed symphonies that existed as living beings of light and sound, and shared experiences by temporarily merging their consciousness with others. Freedom is the greatest gift we can offer, Lyra said, her voice filled with passion. No predetermined roles, no rigid structures. Every individual gets to choose their own path. discover their own purpose, create their own meaning. But as the days passed, David began to notice something troubling. Despite their impressive demonstrations, both princesses seemed to be avoiding certain topics. Whenever he asked specific questions about the void plague they had mentioned, they would change the subject or speak in vague terms. It was during his fourth night of strange dreams that David began to understand why. In these dreams, he saw flashes of cosmic destruction, entire star systems being consumed by an advancing darkness that left nothing behind. But more disturbing were the glimpses of the great civilizations, locked in an ancient conflict, that were somehow connected to the approaching catastrophe. When he confronted both princesses about his dreams, their reactions told him everything he needed to know. Dreams can be unreliable, Zara said quickly, her crystalline skin dimming slightly. You should focus on the concrete benefits our alliance could provide. Sometimes the mind processes cosmic energies in strange ways, Lyra added, though she wouldn't meet his eyes. It's nothing to worry about. But David was a scientist, trained to recognize when people were hiding information. You're not telling me everything, he said firmly. These dreams feel too real, too specific. What aren't you sharing with me? For the first time since their arrival, both princesses looked uncomfortable. They exchanged glances that spoke of shared knowledge and old secrets. The full truth is complicated, Zara finally admitted, and potentially dangerous, Lyra added softly. David felt a chill run down his spine. Dangerous how? I thought you needed Earth's help to fight this void plague. How can the truth be dangerous? Neither princess answered immediately, but David could see the weight of unspoken secrets in their expressions. Whatever they were hiding, it was bigger than just a cosmic threat. It was something that made two powerful alien princesses afraid. To speak openly, we will tell you everything, Zara promised. But first you must understand our worlds, our capabilities. Only then can you comprehend the true scope of what we face. And the choices you'll have to make, Lyra whispered, her form flickering slightly as if she were struggling to maintain her presence in his dimension. As David looked between these two incredible beings, he realized that his simple life as a scientist was truly over. Whatever truth they were hiding, whatever cosmic crisis was approaching, he was now at the center of it all. The question was whether one human could possibly be strong enough to handle whatever revelations were coming outside his laboratory. The desert wind howled through the night, as if the earth itself sensed that momentous changes were approaching. And somewhere in the darkness between stars, something vast and hungry continued its slow advance toward their corner of the galaxy. As the days turned into weeks, something unexpected began to happen. What had started as a formal competition between two alien princesses for Earth's alliance was slowly becoming something much more personal. David found himself genuinely caring about both Zara and Lyra, not just as representatives of their civilizations, but as individuals with their own hopes, fears, and dreams. It began during quiet moments between their grand demonstrations. One evening, after Zara had finished showing him holographic models of her empire's defensive systems, she lingered in his laboratory longer than usual. The confident, regal mask she usually wore seemed to slip slightly. Dr. Rivera, she said, her voice softer than he had ever heard it. May I ask you something personal? Of course, David replied, setting down his coffee cup. And please, just call me David. We're way past formal titles at this point. Zara smiled, and for the first time, it reached her ocean blue eyes. David, then, I was wondering, what made you dedicate your life to searching for life among the stars? Didn't you ever want a family, a normal life like others of your species? The question caught David off guard. I suppose I always believed that understanding our place in the universe was more important than my personal comfort, but honestly, sometimes I wonder if I use that as an excuse to avoid getting too close to people. I understand that feeling more than you might think, Zara admitted, her crystalline skin dimming to a softer glow. I never wanted to be an empress. When I was young, I dreamed of becoming a scholar, studying the mathematical patterns that govern reality. But duty demanded otherwise. She looked out the window at the star-filled desert sky. My people see me as their perfect leader, logical and strong. But sometimes I feel like I'm playing a role, becoming what they need me to be rather than who I truly am. You're the first person who has ever asked me what I wanted, rather than what my empire needed. David felt his heart tighten. Behind all her advanced technology and royal bearing, Zara was just someone who had sacrificed her personal dreams for the greater good. What would you study if you could choose? The music of the spheres, she said immediately, then looked embarrassed. It sounds foolish, but I've always believed that mathematical harmony and musical harmony are connected, that the universe itself might be one great symphony. If only we knew how to listen. That same week, David had an equally revealing conversation with Lyra. She had taken him on one of her dimension walks, a strange experience where they existed partially in his world and partially in the cosmic void, between realities, as they floated together in a space filled with streams of pure starlight. Lyra's usual playful demeanor grew serious. "David," she said, her form shimmering in the cosmic currents, "can you feel it? The pain that echoes through the dimensions?" David concentrated and gradually became aware of something like a distant cry of anguish that seemed to come from everywhere at once. "What is that?" "Every star that dies screams as it's consumed by the void plague," Lyra explained, tears of liquid light flowing down her cheeks. "My people are empathic. We feel the universe's pain as our own. That's why we keep moving, keep exploring. Standing still means drowning in the suffering of a billion dying worlds." She turned to face him, and David saw that beneath her free-spirited nature was someone carrying an enormous emotional burden. "I've felt this cosmic agony for so long that I've forgotten what it was like to experience simple, genuine happiness. But being here with you, on your peaceful little world, I remember what it feels like to hope again." "Is that why you really came to Earth?" David asked gently. "Not just for an alliance, but for refuge from the pain?" Lyra nodded, unable to speak. "For a moment, your species doesn't know how fortunate you are to feel only your own emotions, your own immediate surroundings. The weight of cosmic empathy is overwhelming sometimes." These intimate conversations changed everything for David. He no longer saw Zara and Lyra as alien royalty trying to recruit his planet. They were individuals who had found something in him that they couldn't find in their own worlds. Zara found someone who saw her as a person rather than just a leader. Lyra found someone whose emotional stability gave her peace from the cosmic storm of feelings that constantly surrounded her. But the most dramatic change came through David's dreams, which were becoming more vivid and specific each night. In these visions, he saw glimpses of the past that neither princess had shared with him. He witnessed the great civilizations working together in perfect harmony, their combined technologies creating wonders that surpassed anything either could achieve alone. The dream vision showed him a time when the crystalline empire's mastery of order and the nebular confederation's embrace of chaos complemented each other perfectly. Together, they had built something called the Harmony Collective, a society that balanced structure with freedom, logic with creativity, stability with growth. But then came the darker visions. He saw philosophical differences turning into arguments, arguments becoming conflicts, and conflicts erupting into war. The breaking of their alliance had torn a hole in reality itself, creating the very void plague that now threatened to destroy them both. One morning, David woke with a startling realization. "You are one people," he said when both princesses arrived for their daily visits. The crystalline empire and the nebular confederation weren't always separate. You shared a common origin. Both Zara and Lyra froze, their expressions confirming what David had suspected. "The dreams aren't random," he continued. "Their memories somehow encoded in the cosmic background radiation, and you both know it." Zara's crystalline form brightened with what David now recognized as distress. "David, you don't understand the full complexity of—" "Then help me understand," David interrupted, his voice rising with frustration. "You both claim to care about me, to need my help, but you keep hiding the most important parts of the truth. How can I make any decision when I don't know what I'm really choosing between?" Lyra's form flickered as her emotional control wavered. Because the truth might change how you see us. What if you learn that our war, our mistakes, created the very disaster we're asking you to help us solve? What if you discovered that choosing to help one of us might doom the other to extinction? Zara added, her voice barely above a whisper. David felt the weight of their confession settling over him. These weren't just two civilizations competing for Earth's alliance. They were the remnants of a broken whole, each carrying guilt for a cosmic catastrophe that threatened all life in the galaxy. So the choice isn't really about which civilization to join, David said slowly. It's about whether humanity can somehow help heal a wound that's been bleeding for millennia. Both princesses nodded silently, and for the first time since their arrival. David saw them not as competitors, but as the halves of something that had been broken long ago. There's something else, he said, his scientific mind putting together the final pieces of the puzzle. The reason my transmission reached both of you, the reason I'm having these dreams, the reason you both feel something different here on Earth. It's not a coincidence, is it? Zara and Lyra exchanged a look filled with centuries of shared history and pain. No, David. Lyra said softly, we don't think it's a coincidence at all. As the implications of this revelation sank in, David realized that everything he thought he knew about his situation was about to change once again. The night after David's confrontation with the princesses, his dreams became more intense than ever before. But this time, instead of fragmented visions, he experienced complete memories as if he had lived them himself. He saw the golden age of the Harmony Collective, when Zara's ancestors and Lyra's people worked together as one magnificent civilization. In these dream memories, David witnessed incredible achievements, cities that floated between dimensions while maintaining perfect mathematical harmony, art forms that combine pure logic with wild creativity to produce beauty beyond imagination. Scientists and artists working side by side, they're different. Approaches creating breakthroughs that neither could achieve alone. But he also saw the beginning of the end. A philosophical debate that started small but grew into something much larger. Some believed that perfect order was the key to universal peace, while others argued that absolute freedom was the only path to true happiness. What should have been a healthy discussion became a bitter division that split families, friends, and eventually entire worlds. When David woke up, he found both princesses sitting quietly in his laboratory, waiting for him. Their usual competitive energy was gone, replaced by something that looked almost like fear. You saw it all, didn't you? Zara asked softly. David nodded, still processing the emotional weight of the memories. The war that broke your people apart, it wasn't just political. It was personal. Families were torn apart, lovers forced to choose sides. The worst part, Lyra added, her voice trembling, was the final experiment. Both sides were so desperate to prove their philosophy was correct that they tried to create something that would settle the argument forever. The reality engine, Zara whispered the name like a curse. A device that could reshape the fundamental laws of physics to prove whether order or chaos was the universe's natural state. David felt a chill as the final piece of the puzzle clicked into place. But it backfired. Instead of proving either side right, it tore a hole in reality itself. The void plague isn't a natural disaster, Lyra confirmed, tears flowing freely. Now, it's a wound in the universe that we created through our arrogance and stubbornness. Every star it consumes, every world it destroys, is our responsibility. Before David could respond, an alarm began blaring throughout the facility. Through the laboratory windows, he could see military vehicles surrounding the building. Helicopters circled overhead, and soldiers were taking positions around the perimeter. Dr. Rivera. A voice boomed through a loudspeaker. This is General Thompson of the United States Defense Department. We know about the alien presence. Come out with your hands visible, and no one will be hurt. David's heart sank. Despite their attempts at secrecy, someone had discovered the princess's presence. How did they find out? Our energy signatures. Zara said grimly, her form beginning to brighten as her defensive systems activated. We've been trying to minimize them, but extended presence in your dimension makes concealment difficult. This is bad, Lyra muttered. her form flickering between dimensions as she prepared to phase out of normal reality. If they attack us, we'll have to defend ourselves. That could hurt innocent people. No, David said firmly, stepping between the princesses and the windows. There has to be another way. Let me talk to them. But before anyone could move, the lights went out, emergency power kicked in, bathing everything in red light. And David heard the distinctive whine of military weapons charging up. They're not here to talk, Zara realized, her protective instincts taking over. They see us as threats to be eliminated. The first energy blast shattered the laboratory's reinforced windows. David instinctively threw himself forward, trying to shield both princesses from the incoming fire. But a stray beam caught him in the chest. The pain was immediate and overwhelming, like being struck by lightning and frozen at the same time. As David collapsed, something extraordinary happened. The moment his life force began to fade, both princesses reacted simultaneously. Their different energies, crystalline order and dimensional chaos, merged around David's failing body in a desperate attempt to save him. David, stay with us, Zara pleaded, her hands glowing with healing energy. Don't you dare leave us, Lyra added, pouring her own life force into his weakening form. But as their powers combined to heal David, something unexpected occurred. The merging of their energies created a temporary telepathic link between all three of them. Suddenly, David could feel everything that Zara and Lyra felt, and they could experience his thoughts and emotions as if they were their own. In that shared consciousness, barriers that had existed for centuries crumbled. Zara experienced Lyra's constant empathic pain and understood why freedom was so important to her people. Lyra felt Zara's crushing responsibility and realized why structure and order brought her comfort, and both of them experienced David's genuine love for them as individuals, not as representatives of their civilizations. I can see it, David gasped as the healing energy flowed through him. The solution. It's not about choosing between order and chaos. It's about balance. The telepathic link intensified, and through David's mind, both princesses could see what he had realized. The genetic codes they carried, the remnants of their shared heritage, weren't meant to compete. They were meant to complement each other, like two halves of a cosmic key. The dreams showed me, David continued, his strength returning as their combined healing worked. Your ancestors didn't fail because they tried to work together. They failed because they stopped working together. As if responding to this revelation, the small zone around them began to change. The damage from the energy weapons reversed itself, broken glass reforming, scorch marks fading. The Void Plague's influence, which had been slowly seeping into their reality, was being pushed back by the harmony their union created. We did this, Zara whispered in amazement. Together, we actually reversed the plague's effects. But it's just a small area, Lyra pointed out, and we can only maintain this link while David is connected to both of us. David struggled to sit up, his mind racing with possibilities. Then that's what we need to do. Not choose between your civilizations, but find a way to reconnect them outside. The military bombardment continued, but their small protected zone remained untouched. The soldiers' weapons simply couldn't penetrate the field of restored reality that surrounded them. David, Zara said urgently, there's something else you need to know. The shared consciousness we just experienced, it's changed us. We can feel your emotions, your thoughts, even when the link isn't active. And we can feel each other, Lyra added, looking at Zara with new understanding. For the first time in my life, I'm not drowning in cosmic pain because your ordered energy is creating a buffer. And I'm not feeling crushed by responsibility because your chaotic energy is showing me new possibilities, Zara said, reaching out to touch Lyra's hand. David realized that something had fundamentally shifted between all three of them. The competition for his affection had transformed into something deeper, a connection that transcended normal relationships. But their moment of revelation was interrupted by new alarms. Through the laboratory's remaining windows, they could see something that made David's blood run cold. Ships were appearing in the sky, not the crude military vehicles of Earth's forces, but the sleek, advanced vessels of both alien civilizations, Our people, Zara said, her face pale. They've come. Looking for us. This is about to become much more complicated, Lyra agreed, watching as ships from both fleets took aggressive positions around each other. David looked up at the gathering storm of 3 different military forces, all preparing for a battle that could destroy his world. How long before they start shooting at each other? Both princesses exchanged grim looks. Not long, they said in unison, as if on cue. The first energy blast began exchanging between the alien fleets high above, while Earth's military forces scrambled to respond to threats they couldn't possibly understand. David realized that everything they had discovered about healing the cosmic wound might be meaningless if the 3 civilizations destroyed each other before they could act on it. The final confrontation was about to begin, and somehow, David knew that the fate of not just his world, but the entire galaxy would be decided in the next few hours. The sky above Earth had become a battlefield unlike anything humanity had ever witnessed. Crystalline ships that looked like floating cities faced off against vessels that seemed to exist in multiple dimensions at once. Between them, Earth's military forces scrambled with weapons that looked primitive in comparison. David watched from his laboratory as 3 civilizations prepared for a war that could destroy his entire world. We have to stop this, David said, his voice filled with desperation. There has to be a way to make them listen. My people won't listen to reason while they believe I'm being held captive, Zara said, her crystalline skin pulsing with distress, as she watched her empire's ships power up their weapons. And mine think I've been corrupted by prolonged contact with ordered reality, Lyra added, her form flickering as she felt the chaotic emotions of her fleet commanders. They're preparing to rescue me whether I want to be rescued or not, David felt the weight of impossible responsibility settling on his shoulders. Somehow, in the span of a few weeks, he had gone from a lonely scientist to the only person who might be able to prevent a galactic war. But as he looked at the massive fleets above, he realized that traditional diplomacy wasn't going to work. The telepathic link. He said suddenly, when you healed me, we were all connected. We could feel each other's thoughts and emotions. If we could extend that connection to include the fleet commanders. It's never been attempted on such a scale, Zara said, though David could see hope beginning to spark in her eyes. And it would require all 3 of us to maintain the connection. Simultaneously, Lyra added, the strain could be overwhelming, but it's the only way, David insisted. They need to feel what we felt, understand what we discovered. The solution isn't about one side winning. It's about healing the wound that's been bleeding for centuries. Before either princess could respond, a new voice echoed across the battlefield. It came from all directions at once, carried by technologies that made the very air vibrate with power. Princess Zara of the Crystalline Empire, the voice boomed. You will return to the fleet immediately. Your unauthorized contact with primitive species has compromised our mission. Another voice, this one seeming to whisper from between dimensions, followed, Princess Lyra of the Nebular Confederation. Your exposure to ordered reality has created dangerous stability in your energy patterns. Report for immediate cleansing protocols. Both princesses straightened, their royal bearing returning, as they prepared to face their people's expectations. But David stepped between them and the windows, his decision made. No, he said firmly. I won't let you sacrifice what we've discovered for politics. We've found something that could save both your civilizations and mine, David. You don't understand. The pressure they're under, Zara said gently, if we don't respond. They'll assume we're being coerced and attacked. Then we respond, David said, moving to his laboratory's communication console. But we respond together as one voice. He activated every transmission array in the facility, broadcasting on frequencies that would reach all 3 fleets. This is Dr. David Rivera of Earth. I'm speaking on behalf of humanity, the Crystalline Empire, and the Nebular Confederation. The reaction was immediate. Energy readings spiked as weapons systems across all 3 fleets locked onto his position. But David continued, his voice steady despite the fear racing through his veins. I know what you're thinking. You see enemies where there should be allies. You see threats where there should be hope. But I'm asking you to listen, not with your weapons or your pride, but with your hearts." As he spoke, Zera and Lyra moved to stand beside him, their hands touching his shoulders. The moment they made contact, the telepathic link reformed, stronger than before, and this time, instead of keeping it contained, they began to expand it outward. The effect was subtle at first. Ship commanders who had been preparing for battle hesitated. Weapons that had been charging began to power down. Across all three fleets, hardened military officers suddenly found themselves experiencing emotions and memories that weren't their own. Through the link, they felt David's genuine love for both princesses, not as trophies to be won, but as individuals who had found something precious in each other. They experienced Zera's crushing loneliness and her joy at finally being seen as more than just a perfect leader. They shared Lyra's cosmic empathy and her relief at finding emotional stability through her connections with David and Zera. But most importantly, they felt the ancient memories hidden in the cosmic background radiation every person touched by. The link experienced the golden age of the Harmony Collective, when order and chaos worked together to create wonders beyond imagination. "You see it now," David continued, his voice carrying across space through technology and telepathy alike. "The Void Plague wasn't caused by an external enemy. It was created by the same kind of thinking that's about to destroy us all right now. The belief that one way of existing is superior to all others." The fleet commanders were experiencing something none of them had felt before. Crystalline Empire officers felt the beauty of creative chaos, while Nebular Confederation leaders experienced the peace that came with structured stability. And Earth's military personnel glimpsed the vast potential for growth that cooperation with advanced civilizations could bring. "The solution isn't conquest or conversion," David said, feeling the link strengthen as more minds joined the connection. "It's synthesis, taking the best of each approach and creating something new, something stronger than any of us could achieve alone." As if responding to the growing harmony of thought, something extraordinary began to happen. The small zone of restored reality around David's laboratory started to expand. The Void Plague's influence, which had been slowly seeping into Earth's dimension, began to retreat as the combined consciousness of three civilizations pushed back against it. "It's working," Zera breathed, watching as the darkness between stars actually began to lighten. "The plague is responding to our unified thought patterns," Lyra added, her empathic abilities showing her the cosmic relief as dying star systems began to stabilize. But David realized that maintaining this level of connection was taking an enormous toll on all of them. He could feel his human physiology struggling to process the vast amounts of psychic energy flowing through the link. Zera's crystalline structure was beginning to show stress fractures, while Lyra's form was becoming increasingly unstable as she existed across multiple dimensions simultaneously. "We can't keep this up much longer," he said, sweat beading on his forehead from the effort. "Then we need to make a choice," Zera said, her voice strained but determined. "We can try to return to our separate existences and hope that this moment of understanding lasts, or we choose to become something new," Lyra finished, understanding immediately what Zera was suggesting. "A permanent synthesis of our three approaches to existence." David felt the weight of the decision to save their civilizations and heal the cosmic wound. They would have to give up their individual lives as they knew them. They would become something unprecedented, a merged consciousness that could guide the galaxy toward true harmony. "I need you both to know," David said, looking into their eyes, "that what I feel for you isn't just about this crisis or the fate of the galaxy. You've both become part of who I am, and I can't imagine existing without you, nor can we," Zera said simply, her hand finding his. "Whatever we become," Lyra added, taking his other hand, "we become it together." As their final decision was made, the transformation began. Instead of the painful struggle they had expected, the merging felt like coming home. David's human adaptability provided the bridge that allowed Zera's order perfection and Lyra's chaotic creativity to blend seamlessly. Their individual bodies dissolved into pure energy, but their consciousness remained distinct while becoming unified. They became something new, a being that could exist across multiple dimensions while maintaining perfect stability, that could embrace both logic and intuition, structure and freedom. From their transformed state, they reached out across the galaxy. The Void Plague, faced with a force that represented true balance rather than destructive extremes, began to heal. Star systems that had been consumed were gradually restored, and the cosmic wound that had been bleeding for millennia finally began to close. The three fleets, still connected through the telepathic link, watched in amazement as their new form of existence demonstrated what cooperation could achieve. Where there had been competition, there was now collaboration. Where there had been fear, there was now hope. In the years that followed, Earth became the diplomatic center of a renewed galactic community. Humanity served as mediators and bridges between different ways of thinking, while the consciousness that had once been David, Zara, and Lyra watched over the galaxy as its guardians. They had found a love that transcended individual existence and used it to heal a universe that had forgotten how to work together. In choosing each other, they had chosen the future itself.